Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Tim. Thanks for watching. So I ran across some very interesting articles online. Very interesting. So again, it's a little debatable, so take it with a grain of salt, but you can Google this yourself. I'm not making this up. Google it yourself. Like how much money do beggars make? Just Google it, okay? From from what I found out, on average in the US, people make about $30,000 a year in cash. Begging on average. So this isn't your, beggar that makes the most amount of money. It's your average person on the street with a sign saying, please give me money for food. I'm hungry, stuff like that. Making $15 an hour, which is about $30,000 a year. That is crazy. And take into consideration this, okay? Making $30,000 a year in cash, in just dollar bills, $5 bills, $20 bills, man, that's equivalent to making about between $40,000 and $45,000 a year if you were a regular tax-paying worker. That's nuts. Someone who normally, like here in California, New York, wherever, paying, especially California, federal and state income tax. I'm not going to get into taxation because it's a super boring subject for most of you. It is for me as well. But imagine that. A beggar, on average, begging for money will make $30,000 in cash, which is similar as someone making $40,000 to $45,000 a year at their regular job, working 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, and just, the grind, being in the rat race, day in, day out, working for the man, for the boss. They make, on average, if a household making 50 grand a year, in the US, that means usually two people working, the mom and the dad, as a household working, making close to 50 grand a year here in the US as a median household income. The average beggar on the street, because he doesn't pay tax, he or she doesn't pay tax, they make about as much, in straight up cash. Just amazing to me. Another thing that I found out was interesting is the top earning beggars. I know that sounds funny, like, oh, there's actually top earning beggars. Yeah, I mean, like anything else, the top percent of people who make money, like beggars, same thing. Like in New York City, Grand Central Station, a lot of those beggars out there make, there's a lot of foot traffic. A lot of people go by, right? I read a thing that said they make up to or more than $100,000 a year. Woo! That's a lot of money. $100,000 in cash is equivalent. It's the same thing as about making $155,000 a year as a single payer, filing as a single payer tax, paying federal and state income tax. So someone would have to make $155,000. Most people don't make $155,000 a year, okay? Not even as a household. Some of these beggars making that kind of dough, okay? Why am I bringing this up? One reason I wanted to bring it up is because it's kind of interesting. I found it a little interesting. It's interesting to know. Another reason why I wanted to bring it up is because, I'll be honest. I get a lot of messages. I get a lot of emails from people saying, look, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I'm barely surviving. I'm on my last dollar. No, seriously, literally, I get these emails. And don't get me wrong, I feel bad. Like, it's not like I have a heart of a robot or like it's stone cold and like, I don't care. No, it's not that. It's because I get so many messages from people saying, hey, can you send me some money? And then they take, it's like a big message that probably took them 30 minutes to an hour to type up, explain, oh, I have cancer, this big sad story. I get probably about 100 of those a day. Okay? Now, I'm not faulting people. I'm not looking down on people at all. So don't get me wrong. Please don't get this twisted. All I'm saying is a lot of people yeah, there are people like on the fringe, the small percentage that really can't work. Like, I understand that, and we as a society should take care of those people. I think, especially with people who have the means, financial means to, I think that's a responsibility for people who have a lot of money. Okay, so I take that seriously. But that said, the vast majority of people that are messaging me, and probably other people, it's not just me, I'm sure other people get these messages as well, is like, oh, like, I can't make payments. I make no money. I'm barely scraping by. And that's why I want to share this story. Is like, there's people out there with no job, adding zero value to society. Okay? Like, begging for money doesn't add value for society. People who are begging for money is for their own self-sustenance. It's for their self-survival. They're not making a product. They're not making a service. They're not adding value to society. It's none of that stuff. They're just literally out there on the streets begging for money. People give them money out of self-pity. Well, not self-pity, but pity. Okay? And there are people doing just that, making $30,000 to $100,000 a year. So ask yourself that question. Can you do better than someone who's begging there out in the streets on the local corner, making that kind of money? I absolutely think you can. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to share this story. Is like, a lot of you have this mentality that money is super, super rare. Money is super, super scarce. And my thinking is, most of you, it's from your childhood. It's your upbringing. People told you, either your parents or somebody told you, stop, don't think about money. Money's hard to get. You have to go out there. No one's going to give. It's a very, like, it's hard for me to, give some of these examples, but basically it's a very poor mindset, Give me a sec. It's kind of getting dark. I don't know why it's looking a little dark. Anyways, a little bit of a tangent, but yeah, that's what I wanted to share, is because a lot of people grow up with this mentality that money is a super rare thing to come by. So they live their whole life saying, I'm broke. My parents were broke. I was brought up broke, culturally broke. Generations upon generations are broke. Like, I'm stuck. There's nothing I can do, and there's nothing I can do about it. It's not my fault that I'm this poor. And you're right, in a sense. If you're born into a poor family, that's what Bill Gates said. Bill Gates said that quote. Microsoft, the person who built Microsoft, okay? Bill Gates. Everybody knows Bill Gates. He said, if you're born poor, it's not your fault. If you die poor, it's your fault. Now, that's a profound quote, and I totally agree with the statement. You really have no excuse, especially if you're healthy. If you're a regular, average person who's healthy, who can go out there and make money, there's no excuse. There is no excuse. Now, some of you might say, well, Tim, I don't live in the U.S. Maybe people in the U.S. make that much money just begging on the streets. But here in India, or here in Namibia or Nigeria or Indonesia or the Philippines, like, you could, I seriously, I get so many of these DMs. Here's the thing, though. Think about how many people there are in the world. There's 7.6 billion people in the world. Almost 8 billion. You get everybody to pay you 50 cents by giving or making some sort of product or service, you'll be a billionaire multiple times over. Think about that. Or again, let's say examples, India. I have a lot of people from India following me. I really love you guys. Thanks for following me. But I get a lot of those names. Look, Tim, I'm from India. You don't understand. The rupee here is this, that, and not compared to the dollar. Dude, if you're in India, India has 1.3 billion people. You make a product and you sell to every Indian in your country for $1, you're going to be a billionaire. $1.3 billion. Think about that. Only $1. Okay? Or think about it also this way. If you're in India, again, this is an example. I'm not trying to pick on people in India. I love you guys. But again, if people, or Nigeria, Namibia, whatever, man, okay? People around you, if you're in an environment where everybody's having a hard time, and you're having a hard time because the currency is weak, or there's inflation, or whatever, money's not worth anything, everybody around you is in the same spot. It makes it easier. If you think about it, it's ironic. If you think about it in a way, it's actually easier. Because you have an advantage. Why do you have an advantage? Everybody else is in the same spot as you. So if you can actually go out there and do something about it, there's a bigger market share that you can grab compared to, let's say, here in the US. Everybody makes a decent amount of money. They're supposed to be able to, right? On average. on average, household makes about $50,000 a year in the U.S. That's a lot of money for most, compared to most countries, right? On average, I'm not making that number up, by the way. It's about median household income is about 50 to 55,000. Here in the Orange County, Los Angeles area, it's about $70,000 to $80,000 in household a year. That's average, median. Okay. So if everybody's making that kind of money, it might be harder to make more money, okay? But if you're in a environment where it's a very difficult environment, even if you have a good attitude or a positive attitude, or like, you know what, I'm not gonna let my environment dictate my outcome in my life, you actually have an advantage, because everybody else around you is going to be thinking in a negative way. Everybody else around you is going to be thinking, oh, you know, our lives are doomed because this is our society. This is what it is. There's nothing we can do about this. You have an advantage, okay? So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. I know that's maybe a little bit of a tangent. I don't know if it is. It makes sense in my mind. So I just wanted to share that. It's a little bit of a segue. It's a little bit interesting tying those two together. But again, yeah, I mean, there's people here in the US making that kind of money, and they're not providing any value to society. They're just trying to survive. Granted, some people are either disabled or they have mental issues or something like that really hinder them from making money. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm looking down on them. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying on average, you know, these people, they're making that kind of money. So, you know, don't look at your situation and be like, there's nothing I can do. No, there is something you can do. Okay. You be a little bit creative. If I can literally go out there right now and make $100 today, literally, right? Begging $100 a day. Come on. You could do better than that. There's something you can do. Okay. So hopefully that wasn't too depressing. I don't know. Some of you might find that a little depressing. Like, dude, I don't even make 30 grand a year or 40 grand a year, you know, before taxes. Most of you guys don't make that. And so hearing that people begging on the streets making more than you might be depressing. For me, it's not depressing. For me, it's like, wow, that's motivating. You know, it's like, not motivating. It's motivating. It's motivation for me. It's like, wow, you know, there's people begging on the streets, hustling, you know, and they're not selling a single thing. They're begging and they're making that kind of money. It's like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? So hopefully that is actually positive for you and helpful. There's something you can do is what is the takeaway that I want you guys to take away with. There's something you can do. There's something you can make, something you can create, a value that you can create for people and charge them money for it, a service or a product. You should be making more than $40,000, $50,000 a year. You really should be. Okay. Hopefully that was helpful. Okay. Bye.